Okay, so we need to take a look at the subjunctive and the indicative. And you're wondering, what in the world are those? Um, in Spanish, the subjunctive is called el subjuntivo, and the indicative is called el indicativo. So, what have we learned so far in Spanish? Well, we've been working under what we call the indicative mood, or el modo indicativo. All that means is that everything you've been working with, the present tense, for example, yo tomo el agua, or el pretérito, yo tomé el agua, imperfecto, yo tomaba el agua, or progresivo, yo estoy tomando el agua. All of those are under what we call the indicative mood. There are actually three moods in Spanish: the indicative, the subjunctive, and the imperative. The imperative mood is deals with all of the commands that we've done. Some people consider the imperative not to be a mood. We're going to consider it to be a mood. Here's the interesting thing. Under the indicative, you have a ton of tenses. For example, the present tense and the past tense. We could also say that there's the future tense and the conditional and everything that goes with those. For both tenses, the indicative and the subjunctive. Right now, just to keep things simple, we're going to say that under the subjunctive mood, that we also have the present tense and the past tense. And then the imperative are the commands. So what is the big difference between these two moods? Well, the indicative is what we've been using up until this point in our Spanish career. The indicative is used for certainty and objectivity, whereas the subjunctive is used for uncertainty and subjectivity. So at this point, you may be wondering, I still have no idea what we're talking about. Well, let's take a look. The indicative is everything that you already know. Here's a whole bunch of sentences that we have been working with, or you've seen, or you understand. So, me lavo las manos, right? I wash my hands. Estoy hablando con mi madre. I'm talking with my mom. Pela las papas. He or she is peeling the potatoes. Compré los boletos. I bought the tickets. Escuchaba la música de Justin Bieber. I was listening to the music of Justin Bieber. All of those, whether it's the imperfect, the preterite, the present tense, those are all under the indicative mood. They're just statements. There's no uncertainty or doubt about these. The fact is, I'm washing my hands. I'm speaking with my mother. He or she is peeling the potatoes. I bought the tickets, and I was listening to the music of Justin Bieber. The subjunctive is a little bit different. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit. I guess it's a lot different. First of all, do we even have this mood in English? The answer is yes, but it is disappearing. You may not even notice it in the following sentences. Let me give you some examples. First of all, how would we finish this sentence? You are late. Now think about the next sentence. It is important that you be on time. That is the proper conjugation of that verb, to be. And the reason why is because this is the subjunctive. So note, you can compare and contrast the two sentences. The second one, I am on vacation. Now, how about the next one? I wish that I were on vacation. I wish I were on vacation. The next one, Doug speaks, with an S, English. The teacher insists that he speak Spanish in class. And the last one, the child takes his medicine. The doctor recommends that the child take all the medicine. So here we have the indicative tense in the first sentence versus the subjunctive in the second sentence. As I stated, you may not really understand or have even noticed it in the past when we've been speaking English because it's our native language. Okay, so when do we use the subjunctive in Spanish? The first thing to know is that in order to even think about using the subjunctive, there has to be a couple things present in these sentences. For example, there must be two subjects. And second of all, there needs to be a conjunction word such as que. So two subjects divided by a conjunction word que. So we have two clauses when we're dealing with the subjunctive. The first clause, which is the main clause, has subject one, and you'll notice that in this sentence it's La Señora Thompson. And I want, or La Señora Thompson wants that I listen well. So the second clause, which is subject two. The first clause contains La Señora Thompson as a subject, and the second clause contains yo as the subject. So we have two different subjects in this sentence, and they're joined by a conjunction word que. So this sentence does qualify for the subjunctive. Let's see if the following sentences would even qualify for us to think about using a subjunctive. I want to go to Spain. Does that have two subjects? No, it does not. It also does not have a conjunction word que. The second one, she wishes that her brother behave. Well, we have two subjects and we have the conjunction word behave. So it does qualify to possibly use the subjunctive. The next one, she wants the students to practice their Spanish. We have two subjects and the conjunction word que. So it does qualify. How about the last one? I hope that I get an A on my test. Well, we don't have two different subjects, so it does not qualify. Okay, so how would we form these in Spanish? Well, the first one is quiero ir a España. Because we don't have a change in the subjects, we don't have to conjugate our second verb. The next one, she wishes that her brother behave. Notice that in the first clause, desea, and then the second part is, or the first clause is in the indicative, and the second clause is in the subjunctive. So, desea que su hermano se porte bien. The verb here is portarse. The next one, she wants their students to practice their Spanish. So we're going to say, ella quiere que los estudiantes practiquen el español. First clause is ella quiere, that's in the indicative, followed by que, and the second clause is in the subjunctive. And the last one, I hope that I get an A on my test. Well, this is not going to qualify for the subjunctive, so it's simply going to be espero sacar una A en mi examen. In which clause is the verb used in the subjunctive? Well, let's take a look. Ella quiere que los estudiantes practiquen el español. You may be saying to yourself, well, it's the second clause. And that is correct. The first clause is always going to be in the indicative. The second clause is always going to be in the subjunctive, if it qualifies. So, how do we know when to use the subjunctive in the second clause? There's a trick to that. Since the subjunctive deals with subjectivity and uncertainty, the first clause must contain a verb that would trigger the subjunctive. So, this is important to note. Just because you have two different subjects and que doesn't mean that every second clause is going to be in the subjunctive. We have to have a trigger verb in the first clause. And the way we can remember this is with the acronym WEIRDO. The first one, I know, you're laughing. The first one is W, which is for will or wishes. And here are some examples. I want you to clean your room. Quiero que limpies tu cuarto. She hopes that he returns soon. Ella espera que vuelva pronto. Next one is E for emotions. I am happy that you are going to Costa Rica. Me alegro de que tú vayas a Costa Rica. So the first clause is an emotion, or the verb is an emotion. We have I. It's important that I have the remote. This is something that I tell my husband all the time. Es importante que tenga el remoto. It's strange that she's leaving. Es raro que ella se vaya. This is for impersonal expressions. R, what do you think? Take a look at the sentence. I'm sure you guessed recommendations. So I recommend that you order the special. Te recomiendo que pidas el plato especial. D is for doubt or denial. And then O is for ojalá, which ojalá means God willing. It also means let's, for example. So ojalá que haga buen tiempo today. So let's hope that it's good weather today. So with those, let's try to do some exercises. You decide, subjuntivo or no. Traduce el verbo en la segunda cláusula en el indicativo o el subjuntivo. Número 1. Es importante que blank la tarea. So, es importante, does that fall under one of the weirdo categories? Yes, it does. So it is going to be in the subjunctive. We have two subjects. Hagan would be your correct answer. Why? Porque es importante, es una expresión impersonal. Número 2. Ella dice que ellos blank in Milford. Viven. This is going to be in the indicative because dice is not a verb that falls under the weirdo, under the weirdo category. Next one. Mi madre quiere que mi hermano blank la cama. So we've got mi madre and mi hermano, two different subjects separated by K, or I should say joined by K, with the verb tender. So if you guessed tienda, you are correct. And why? Because quiere is a trigger verb. It falls under W for will or wishes. Next one. Yo prefiero que los niños blank afuera. I prefer that the children play outside. So, ¿qué piensas? If you said jueguen, you are correct. It is subjunctive because prefiero falls under the W for will or wishes. Prefiero triggers the subjunctive in the second clause. Next one. La maestra exige que sus estudiantes blank una buena nota. Well, we've got la maestra, and we've got sus estudiantes, and we're joined by K, so that qualifies. Now let's look at our verb, exige, which means to demand. So would that fall under one of the weirdos? Yes, it would. So that's going to trigger the subjunctive in the second clause. Saquen. Okay, and ella nos escribe que la escuela blank muy buena. So she's writing to us that the school is very good. Escribir, does that fall under a weirdo? No, it does not. It's simply a statement. So it's going to be in the indicative. Es. There's no doubt or uncertainty. Es bueno que nosotros blank temprano el jueves. Well, es bueno is an impersonal expression, and we do have a second subject in the second clause, so it would be salgamos. And because it's an impersonal expression. Okay, so hay ejercicios en Schoology, hay 10 preguntas en inglés, y yo espero que hagas un buen trabajo. Déjame saber si tienes preguntas, ¿ok? Nos vemos mañana.